evening once again, distinguished gentlemen, ladies, guests, stakeholders. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the breakout session on digital economy, infrastructure, innovation, and technology at the 2026 SEV Southeastern Vision 2050. When we talk about digital economy, it's easy to think in terms of big technology. It's easy to think about startups. It's easy to think about things happening everywhere in the world. But for the Southeast, the more urgent question is this: how does digital innovation raise productivity across the economy that already exists? So keep it in mind, ladies and gentlemen, there is a thriving economy in the Southeast. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There is a thriving economy here in the Southeast. But we are here to deliberate amongst ourselves, to discuss, in line with the agenda of the SEV2050, building a framework on how this innovation and technology can be used to raise productivity. Our region is one of the most entrepreneurial regions in Nigeria. Our economy is powered by traders, manufacturers, transporters, artisans, educators, health sector, name it. The challenge we face is not energy or ambition, it is fragmentation, informality, and inefficiency. And that is exactly where digital tools can be used to make the big difference. Today's session is therefore not about technology as it is. However, it is about output per worker. It is about turnaround time. It is about cost reduction. It is about scale. It is about competitiveness. It is about how digital innovation helps a trader turn stock faster. How digital tools helps a manufacturer reduce his waste. How it helps the government office to serve its citizens more efficiently. And how young persons become productive ever sooner. So to get us through this session, we're going to break it into 3 tiers before I introduce my first speaker to you. We're going to look at how we can do the quick and easy fix. How does digital innovation apply to you as the individual? How does it apply to you, the trader? How does it apply to you, the business owner? How does it apply to you, the creative artist, as an individual? And what are the quick turnarounds that you can get by applying these digital tools? Then we're going to look at a second tier, a medium tier, not so direct, but we're looking at how we interact between individuals and build clusters. When you understand how to improve your productivity as an individual, and your neighbor understands how to improve their productivity as an individual, then how do you interact using innovation and technology? And then finally, we're going to take it a little bit harder, where we're going to look where it is not so clear. And that is where the framework of the Southeastern Vision 2050 lies. We're going to now see how do we work together as 5 different states. After having seen it from an individual level and seen it on a state level, how do we then apply innovation and technology on a Southeastern regional level? So ladies and gentlemen, my role here today is to help you to deliberately move through this mindset where we clear up any misunderstandings, we ground ideas, and then we ensure that we leave this room not just inspired, but aligned with our clear next steps. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce to you today our lead speaker, who will be talking to us on why the Southeast's massive informal e-commerce economy hasn't translated into venture-backed digital enterprises and how to bridge this gap. Ladies and gentlemen, please can I get your hands together as you put a warm, resounding welcome for Mr. Innocent Isichie. He is the managing partner, ACIOE Associates. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and please pay close attention to these wise words.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Oguna for the kind introduction. And please permit me to stand on all existing protocols already established. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic that is dear to my heart, and I know to the heart of the Southeast Development Commission. And it's about harnessing digital innovation to drive productivity across the Southeast region. Let me start by saying that this is clearly not a technology talk. I'm not going to talk about apps, coding, or any of the jargon. But I'm going to talk about how the digital economy can help in terms of creating jobs, opportunities, and more importantly, whether the youths of the Southeast would not need to leave this region to succeed. Technology to me is just a tool. The real question is how do we use it to make the Southeast stronger, richer, and more competitive? That's what the next 10 minutes is going to be all about. Second slide. Today in Nigeria, there's a very uncomfortable fact, and that's the fact that most of the innovation you see, or most of the funding that goes to support tech, close to 88% of it is in Lagos, right? Literally 9 of every 10 startups you see in the country are based in Lagos. So what does that mean in real life? It means the jobs go there. It means the investors go there. The mentorship that you find that startup needs is also there. And naturally, the next generation will also follow there. But I don't think it's because the Southeast lacks talent or other regions lack talent. If anything, the Southeast actually exports its talent out. The real problem is talent without the system goes nowhere. And if you don't build a system here, the future will continue to happen somewhere else. And so I think the real question is, are we good enough? And are we willing to build that environment that allows people to succeed here in the Southeast? Next slide. Third slide. Yeah. So, unfortunately, in my past, I've had the opportunity of working with a good number of startups across Nigeria. And one of them, there are a few startups that I always think about in terms of seeing them from its inception. One of which was Paystack. Started by 2 young kids in Lagos in 2016. And by 2020, they had been acquired by Stripe for over $200 million. We've also heard about other companies like PiggyVest. 2 of the founders are actually from the Southeast, Somto and Josh. And you also heard about MoneyPoint. And all these companies are worth, in terms of valuation, MoneyPoint is worth over $1 billion today. PiggyVest is worth over $400 million. But interesting that these companies didn't start big. They started small, but in the right environment. And when you look outside Nigeria, you take a look at Southeast Asia. Because I don't want to go to America and say, let's talk about Silicon Valley. Because I think there are other places that we can actually look at. And the Southeast Asia used to be seen the way people see the Southeast today. Fragmented, developing, but no obvious tech hubs. Today, they have dozens of billion-dollar companies. The other day, I listened to a company called, founder of a company called C. C is a gaming company in Singapore. In 2020, they were worth $1 billion. By 2025, they were worth $100 billion. It's the biggest gaming company with 100 million daily active users. And so what it tells you that these things can be done. 20 years ago in Southeast Asia, you had most of these companies didn't exist. But today you have about maybe 63 unicorns valued at $263 billion. Shenzhen, for those who know China, used to be a fishing village. But today it's one of the most important technology cities in the world. What changed? Not luck, not miracles. They built systems. That's the part we control. And in the Southeast, we have something very, very special. It's a community that believes in helping the next person to rise. That combination is very rare, and people talk about it. I think the Harvard Business Review did a study about the apprenticeship system in the Southeast. So what is missing is not necessarily intelligence or hustle. What is missing is that connection between education, business, capital, and policy. And once you can connect these dots, things move very, very fast. Let me say something that often surprises people. Long before Silicon Valley, like I mentioned, the Southeast were already doing venture building here. The apprenticeship system is actually a system of venture building. A young person starts learning by doing. They are supported, trusted, and eventually given capital to start their own business. That is incubation. That is what happens in the tech space as well, but just in a different form. And, sorry. That is also mentorship when you look at the apprenticeship system. And that is also early stage funding, where you see someone give money to an apprentice that works under him to start his own business. But the difference today is that businesses are no longer only physical. You know, I always say trade has now gone digital. And the question is, how can we combine these apprenticeship skills that we have here, or knowledge, with digital skills and modern capital? In looking at it, let me break it down to you. Every successful hub that we see today, anywhere in the world, has 5 things. First is reliable power. And second is internet, access to broadband. Without that, nothing works. And if you go to Lagos, when you look around the Yaba system, where companies like Andela, Flutterwave came out from, you could see they addressed this critical infrastructure, which is access to the internet. Second, skills. People must know how to build things that the modern economy needs, right? Whether it's improving access to finance, whether it's finding ways to leverage digital tools to improve access to credit or move goods from one place to another. The third thing also is you need to have very clear rules. Entrepreneurs need to know that the rules won't change halfway. Policy changes overnight. Those things scare entrepreneurs and also scare investors. Fourth is capital. Ideas don't grow on motivation alone. They need money. And fifth is community. People learning from each other, helping each other. I serve as a partner at a firm called Ventures Platforms, which is a venture capital firm based out of Abuja. And out of that firm, we had companies like Paystack actually got part of a seed funding from Ventures Platform. PiggyVest got a seed funding from Ventures Platform as well, and MoneyPoint as well. But one of the things, like when I talk about this idea of the community really helps because you're able to exchange ideas, you're able to keep iterating on your solutions. And today, I think the last fundraise Venture Platform did was about $75 million. And the idea is that it's going to help use that fund to actually invest in early stage startups. But for you to be able to get the returns on your investments, you need to make sure that you sort of address these 5 pillars, which I talk about, which I've just spoken about. And if you only build one of these or 2 of these, you really can't get the value that you need to build a strong digital ecosystem in the Southeast region. I think you can go to the next slide. Sorry. Yeah. So I think sometime last year, working with the SEDC, and I must commend the management, the MD, and as well as the directors of SEDC. they came up with a very good idea, which is, creating a Southeast Venture Capital Fund. Many people hear venture capital and they think it's something foreign, but it's really around money that can assess risks so new businesses can grow. The whole idea was to set up a $50 million fund, and the idea was to SEDC will come up with $5 million as seed capital to support early stage startups. And I think this is very, very important because it means that the Southeast Development Commission actually has skin in the game, and that helps encourage investors to see that you actually have skin in the game. You're putting your own money, and you put your money where your mouth is. And I think that is very important because I think the whole idea is by setting up this fund, they could help to support innovation and also provide what I call a fertile ground for innovators to come in to test, to build on their skills, learn the tools build on their skills, have access to the tools that could enable them to grow, have access to the opportunity to pitch their investments to funders across different spaces, whether it's from venture capital firms to development partners. And the whole idea is, with this sort of investment, you could help to attract more money, more startups, and more jobs in the Southeast. And I think I must commend them for this because I think it's a very noble initiative. If we can go on to the next slide. Now, let me take this back home again. Paystack, for example, didn't succeed because Nigeria are lucky. Piggyvest didn't succeed because savings is new. MoneyPoint didn't succeed because payments are magic. They succeeded because they solved real problems. They were supported early, and they were allowed to grow. If Nigerians can build companies like this, then the Southeast can actually build its own champions. There's nothing special about geography. What matters is the opportunity. Sorry, next slide. And I want to paint, next slide. I want to paint a picture. Imagine a startup in Enugu helping farmers to increase their yields using simple mobile tools. Or we talk about manufacturers in Aba selling globally and not just locally. And I'll give you an example. There's a startup ventures platform supported. It's known as Lemfi. For those in diaspora, I'm sure Obi, you know Lemfi. I was talking to the founder of Lemfi, and they said they support hundreds of $millions of flows to Nigeria every month. One of the interesting things he said is a lot of people today in the diaspora send money home to buy clothes in Nigeria. And they find these creatives on the internet, right? And the idea is, how can you also create a system where those creatives that sell these clothes, that sell these attires, how can you create an opportunity for them to scale? And these are sort of things we think about when we look at e-commerce, for example. How do we help the manufacturers, our designers here in the Southeast? How can we help them to sell globally and not just locally? And how can we imagine students graduating and joining startups here instead of going to Lagos or going to other parts of the world? These are not dreams. These are business models that already work elsewhere. Our job really is to make it possible here. And so I know we're going to have a session here. And so I think in the last slide, one of the things I really want to talk about is really the call to action. What is expected of us? By 2050, the Southeast will either be a place that exports its best mind or a place that builds opportunities at home. That outcome today depends on the choices we make now. How can the government enable a more friendly business environment? How can we create the vehicles that allow investors to invest in startups in the Southeast? How do we also bridge the linkage between our universities? And one of the things about Enugu, for example, has over 7 universities. Innovation thrives in such environments. How can we ensure that our universities are evolving to support the emergence of strong and vibrant startups? And how can we help to create that community through hubs that can support those within tech ecosystem that are building? And I think for each of the stakeholders, I think we must ask ourselves a very honest question. What role can we play? Because we believe that history will remember those who acted and those who watched. And this is our moment, and let's do something worthy of it. And I want to thank you very much for this kind of invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Put your hands together one more time for Mr. Eti. All right, how are we feeling right now? How's everyone feeling? I see, is that coffee or tea going around? I see some hot beverages going around, so that's good. It means everyone is waking up again. And we need you awake at this time because you see what we're discussing here is very key. And I'm going to run through why this is very key. You must realize, like the last speaker who just left here said, the southeastern region is very blessed. Remember earlier on I told you that we have a heavy, dense population of entrepreneurs, a dense population of people with ambition, people with will. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it as one house. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it as one house. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know there's many other things to take your attention right now. But for the next 20 minutes, as we enter this interactive session, let's put our heads together because a framework is really about to be built here. So we must first understand the southeastern community. We must understand our profile. Our economy is defined by high enterprise density and entrepreneurial activity. We have a dominance of SMEs, informal trade, and production clusters. So when you talk about the strength of the southeastern development or the southeastern region, what I'm talking to you about is commerce markets. The commerce markets that you see in Onitsha, like the Onitsha market, like the Ariara International Market in Abia State, the Ekaha market. These are already institutions that exist. They exist, but we haven't been able to scale them to what they can do. We haven't been able to standardize their operations. We haven't been able to maximize their efficiency, to improve their output, to increase their productivity. We do manufacturing in the southeast already. The Inewi Automotive Cluster hosts the first Nigerian-made vehicle, Inson Vehicle Motors. We already do it, ladies and gentlemen. The economy exists. When we talk about the plastic market, Onitsha hosts one of the biggest clusters for plastic markets, for household materials. Look at logistics. We have the likes of GIG that started here in the east, but now is nationwide. Then you look at education. Need I say it? From top universities like University of Nigeria and Nsukka to teaching hospitals like University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital. And then we just had the gracious Stephanie Lino speak to us. So you know that creativity is nested here in the southeast. So ladies and gentlemen, we have everything it takes to build the southeast economic corridor. What we need now is to apply digital technology and innovation to this. So we're going to start this session, and I'm going to just guide you. But please, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very interactive session, so I would like participation. And to get your participation, I'm going to ask some questions to just help, provoke your thoughts a little bit. And like I said, we're going to break it into tiers. So our tier one is the very basic application of digital infrastructure. And so I say, to everyone in this room, what percentage of your business still relies on memory? Please think about this. This is for you. This is for you to be able to give answers to build a good framework. What percentage of your business still relies on memory or manually taking notes in a notebook? What percent of your business still relies on that? Then think about this again. Because I would like some answers and I would like some questions to come from the audience. Which government agencies can improve their processes by digitizing certain requirements? You know, these are simple and quick ways to apply innovation and technology to see quick productivity. So, with those two questions, does anybody have anything they would like to say? What area in your business do you think? Because you see, we're doing one of the things. Everybody is listening to this question, and nobody is kind of typing it down. Nobody is taking notes. So you're relying on your mind. How many things can you remember when you rely on your mind? Nobody is writing down these inefficiencies. These are part of the problems that we want to solve that bring quick fix. So I saw a question in the audience real quick. Is there a microphone that can go around, please? Is there a microphone that can go around? Yes, there's somebody there.
Good afternoon, everyone, and my appreciation to the speaker and the facilitator. My question actually will revolve around all we have heard, but I'll start to answering it directly. The answer to the first question is to me. Oh, my name is Engineer Basilode, COE, Kachi Business Resources Limited.
Thank you.
Kachi Business Resources Limited. Now, because I'm a business resources person, about less than 2% of my job is manual. The rest are digitized. Then, as for the second question, one of the industries I know in Nigeria that require immediate digitization and capture of database is driving license department. I've experienced that. The capture system is always failing and all that. Most of you can bear me witness. So one of the major ministry is that driving license issue. Now, but my contribution to all we have said in terms of the digital economy and how we can facilitate participation. One of the gentlemen that spoke talking about Igbo apprentice system. Now, we know those that talked about tourism. That's what I call digital app tourism. Digital app tourism. We are in the age of social media. I will have massive youth that have the resources to apply that skill naturally. Some people, I'm one of them, have enough knowledge base to mass produce several apps that will touch all we are talking about today. Obunike Cave, these other things, we just capture it and showcase it to the whole world through social media vehicle. All you have to do is to use the Igbo apprentice system to download this skill to our youth who can mass produce software within a day or two using AI technology. So my contribution is we need data. Data can be introduced. Somebody mentioned about data there when it comes to having what we have in terms of all those tourism centers. This youth can easily put this, like in my own company, we can develop a database in 2 days because we have AI technology. Someone says here, you don't need technology, you don't need the Python, you don't need the Fortran. You need what? The knowledge to engineer the process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. These are very wise words. And you see, that has taken us to another to another positive of digital technology, which is marketing and information transfer. With digital technology, from our bedroom, we can reach markets beyond borders. So, but I want to ask you a question, sir. Engineer, if you're with me. Before we can share information on these apps, right, that you've spoken about, which is very true, don't you think that there is the basic necessity for the individuals to start collating this data in their own businesses? And that's why I bring it back to the first tier. And you said only 2% of your business still relies on manual, which is very good. So you are a barrier, you're a barrier breaking individual when it comes to this. But if we take what the engineer has spoken with us and he has contributed today, it is very important that each and every one of us in our individual sectors start to build databases, our own individual database inventory. It is from building these inventories that we then get the opportunity to develop an Igbo marketplace app. You understand?
Thank you, my brother. My own answer to that is this. In Igbo system, Southeast, we have this communal spirit. We like sharing. Like what I've done in my own company. We can easily share this among others through knowledge sharing. So as we do that, other companies, small companies, begin to pick the idea and also digitize their own system. That's the way we can approach it.
So you're talking about capillary movement. Let us build the apps. Let us build these communities that would attract individuals and say, look, if I can only get on this app, I see the future of my business. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that's one key thing to note. So what we're talking about using the capillary movement. One of the things we should note down for our framework is we need to talk to our policymakers. We need to talk to people. Can we build a digital platform and then use that to entice people from their individual markets to come on board? There's something that I know that I use in Lagos. I flew in from Lagos. It's called afia.com. And I remember when I heard it, afia.com. I was like, but Afia is not market. It's market. And so it started out with one builder that started populating with his friend, afia.com. Over time, other builders began to see that people are buying from this afia.com. And then they started to integrate other suppliers of building materials. Today, one of the main places anybody doing construction, especially self-projects, where they go to confirm their prices is on this website. So you are very right. One of the things we can begin to do in the Southeast is to develop this data bank and try to start inciting people to subscribe to this data bank. And by so doing, we'll realize that we are now going to force our lay traders to begin to use innovation and technology. Thank you very much. There was another hand that was up here. Please, briefly, can we have the microphone? Before you, sir, let's have the question and comment from here, and then we'll come back to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adjo Kukwe. I'm from Red Clay. We're a tourism advisory practice. I like the challenge that you've given, and I wanted to ask a question or comment to say it would also be good as we think about this harmonization for tourism and the creative economy to think about how the digital economy, digital innovation can also come up with solutions, particularly for capturing visitors to like tourist sites, to capture visitors to tourist attractions. Because when we think about investment, attractiveness, and readiness, if we don't know people that are coming, if we can't get feedback, if we can't get the experience, if the different parastatals are not talking to each other and the agencies to say, okay, what are you going to do about health? What are you going to do about security? What are you going to do about all of this? So that kind of, it's a big scale, I don't know, it's not an app, but it's a big scale digital infrastructure. It'll be good to have some sort of feedback from the digital experts on what that can actually look like in a very simple term.
You've asked a very important question. In fact, my next question to the audience was this. Because you see, I'm here as a facilitator and a moderator. So we are going to find our answers from the crowd. I'm not here to give you answers as an authority. I'm here as someone also seeking solutions, seeking help in building this necessary framework. And so that is a very valid question, and she has tailored it to the tourism sector. I will go ahead and rephrase that question, and if anybody in the audience has any information or any input, please identify yourselves by raising your hand. So her question which is pertinent to the tourism sector, essentially is this. What would it take to make moving the information about what is happening in the tourism sector across the Southeast predictable? Do you understand me? Let me ask the question generally and then I bring it back to tourism. The question as a general question is, what would it take to make moving goods across the Southeast predictable, trackable, and cheaper? What will it take to move goods and services across the Southeast to make it more accessible? Does anybody have anything they would like to impute in that? Please, the gentleman at the back. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Johnny Okafor. Okay. So anyway, I think for movement of goods, infrastructure like road construction, one problem I think we have is all these unending projects. Ever since after the war, the Onitsha Road to Enugu is always under construction. Enugu to Nsukka, like if we can have the infrastructure, give it one contractor that does a good job, you get the road to be there for the next 10, 15, 20 years, then you can, increase the rate of flow of traffic without all the congestion and the insecurity that, is associated with it. And then I think overall knowledge of what's where and logistics, like we were talking about the database, if we can have centers of excellence, you produce wine in Udi, you produce rice in Abakaliki, and you produce whatever in Aba, and then it's not like you can concentrate the expertise in those regions and maximize the efficiencies, and then pool resources instead of for having to buy generators individually. Then the centers may have to provide power, whatever, or the state or SEDC could facilitate those water, power and infrastructure. I think that will help. But going back to the original question, I think it will make sense that pensioners get paid. That could be automated. It will be one area that if they automate, a lot of citizens will be happy.
Thank you. So this is such an interesting topic because it is so interwoven. To highlight what you're talking about route optimization, for instance. So what does route optimization do? Route optimization also helps in trade. When you have these good roads, then you allow things move physically from one place to another without any aberrations. Digital waybills and tracking, for instance. So we talked about GIG. Now, GIG, even though it started here in the East, has a platform for tracking your goods, irrespective of where you are in the world. You don't have to be in the Southeast to use GIG. But in some cases, if the tracking platform was only in Igbo, that means a Yoruba man cannot use it. That means an Hausa man cannot use it. You understand? So those are some of the applications of digital innovation that help to increase productivity in the social economy as a whole. And before we wrap up, we'll take one more question and comment we have a couple more. I think we have some time. So please, if I can get the microphone up to the front, we'll take a couple more questions and comments, and then we'll try to wrap things up and bring it to a close.
Thank you very much. My name is Toby Okechukwu. I work with the SEDC. Actually, the overriding essence of this engagement is to see how we scale things we do individually up, whether it's in digitalization, in innovation, or whether it is in transportation. You see, a lot of our people want good roads and all, but you can't do good roads to everywhere. Is it possible for me to establish a factory in my village and in Enugu State? Another person establishes a factory in Anambra State and in Imo State. At the end of the day, you have to run gas pipeline to all these villages. But if you concentrate it on a place, you can run just one grid to the network, and then you serve an industrial area. In so doing, you can escalate transportation to all these other places without being heavy infrastructure. Second is, what is the possibility of young people in Igbo land who have some great ideas or who have put them in there, and how do we activate them to scale up? We are looking at venture capital, but the ideas have to be there. And is it possible for us to have a data, an understanding of those who are in the practice here and those who have the prospects? The last presenter made some presentations. You know, there is Money Point, there is OPay, there is Paga. To what extent are we involved? Which one is having its own impact here? What other solutions, what other problems do we have to solve? When you're thinking about innovation, what do you intend to solve? Is it our trading? You know, how do we escalate our trading? How do we make sure that you don't even move those things? That somebody stays in one place to do it. So innovation would need to solve ideas. And when innovations come, how do we support it? Or do we have to continue building our venture capital on social platforms? In so doing, we are using it to do burials. We are using it to do end-of-year parties. Closing years with 1 billion naira. What if we convert that to venture capital that can propel our young people? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you have escalated us to the more complex application of the digital economy and how it helps to build the social economy. On a very macro scale is what you are speaking about. And these are very, very, very insightful questions. In production and manufacturing, there's something that you call a bespoke model. And a bespoke model means that to limit your infrastructure development cost, what you want to do is that you want to site your manufacturing and processing close to the source. Right? Because you see, it is when you move raw products, you move volumes. But when you move refined products, you move smaller quantities. Right? So what happens is that you ease the effect or the burden on infrastructure when we build in clusters. So like you rightly said, before we can get to a stage where we can confidently say, let this production take place in Anambra State. Let this production take place in Enugu State. Let this production take place in Abia State. So that we can consolidate resources, right? We need to build one important element amongst these states, and that is trust. How do we build that trust? You see, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the third tier. Remember I said we need to start as individuals. Then we need to move into clusters before we can move into the region. To help this happen, the minute people start to maintain databases on platforms, the minute they start to adhere to international standards of practice, is when they can begin to attract institutional funding, like the Money Points, or the MasterCards, or the Afri-Exits. But you see, as long as they continue to operate as traders that do not structure their business, taking advantage of the digital infrastructure, it'll be hard for them to access this institutional financing. We speak about trust because the minute you have a database, the young engineer at the back said to us, if a contractor built a road and the road has lasted 15 years, 25 years, let us see the database now so that when we want to award another contract, we know who to give. That is what building databases does. It opens up and causes for transparency. This transparency in itself is what will then get the southeastern region to be able to work and say, I am not going to produce this in Enugu. I will let them handle it in Anambra State. Why? I am confident that I would not lose my equitable share in the outcome because there is some kind of transparency on what is going on there, even if I am not there physically. When that young business person starts a business and wants to target a market outside the shores using social media, there will be confidence on the consumer to make payment before delivery. Because there is a database that supports the integrity of sellers. Today, sometimes you want to order something, even if it's just from down the road, you say, oh, I will not pay until you bring it and I see it with my eye. There is no trust. So to further answer your question, sir, I think to engage institutional financing, we have to start from the singular unit to begin to adopt innovative technology in our processing. That will build transparency, that will build integrity, that will reduce cost, that would increase productivity. The transparency that is created allows for different clusters to begin to work together. And then that allows for scalability. Now you can scale because you are moving things beyond your immediate reach. You're increasing your ability to earn. And then you then look at the whole Southeast as a region. You understand what I'm trying to say? Now you can focus and say, it's okay, build the gas power plant to this side. Don't waste money and try and build it to many places. We are rest assured that the data coming out of there is accurate and is transparent. You know what I'm trying to say? Build the manufacturing plant over here. Don't build here, build there, and build there. No. So, digital innovation is what we need to draw institutional financing. Institutional financing is what we need to make our businesses scalable. And when we make our businesses scalable, we come back and answer the last question, how do we engage the young entrepreneurs? How do we engage the youth? The Southeast region is on the brink of industrialization, and these are the tools that we need to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a very fast-spent day, and time is running out. To allow us to go into our next sessions at this time, we will bring this session to a close. And to help us do that, I would like to say, I want each and every one of us here to leave here with an action to implement within 90 days in your personal businesses that applies digital economy and innovation. I want each and every one here to, within the next 90 days, think of one action you can apply to your business. Be it keeping an inventory sheet automatically, be it moving from payment by cash to payment by banking platforms, mobile money, using of e-commerce to opening physical stores. Secondly, I then want everybody to think of how they can then collaborate with another business. How can you collaborate? So for those in the film industry, there are different sectors to your industry. You have your artists that are the actors and the actresses. You have your audiovisual crew. You have behind the screen, in front of the screen. You have your scriptwriter. You have so many things. How do you optimize the collaborative efforts amongst that sector? When you've done it for yourself, how do you then collaborate? And on the third tier, I want you to commit to addressing and not avoiding the challenges that are faced when you begin to apply innovation to your business. The digital economy is already here. The question for the Southeast is whether we apply it deliberately to raise productivity, incomes, and competitiveness, or whether we continue to absorb its cost without capturing its gains. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the short time we have spent together, and I hope each and every one of us has had some outcome today. Enjoy the rest of the forum. Okay, can I have Miss Ada from Landmark? Is Miss Ada in the building? Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, pretty much, real quick. For the delectable Mrs. Ada, who will be speaking to us very briefly, giving a keynote address on tourism and applications of the things we've heard today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is evening now. It's been a bit. Okay, good day again. As was noted, my name is Adobe Wanze, and I'm the Chief Legal Officer of the Landmark Group. My CEO, Mr. Paul Owanibe, was meant to be here, so I'm representing him. The presentation here is with respect to, the title of this presentation is From Cultural Heritage to Commercial Viability: Why Southeast Tourism Has Not Reached Its Full Potential and the Pathway to Change. Move the slide, please. Change the slide, please. Thank you. Okay. So I think, first of all, it's to note that tourism, hospitality, and the creative economy, that they are all interlinked. They are effectively like the stands of a tripod. If one is not there, it might not necessarily function the way that it should be. And the question is, why do these three pillars of progress matter to the Southeast? First things first, unlike other industries, the tourism sector has the potential, has the advantage of speed to market. It's very easy to set up as compared to the heavy industry, and it's less capital intensive. And of course, you also have the advantage of fast job creation, particularly for the youth, for women-led enterprises, and for SMEs. And these three pillars, hospitality, tourism, and the creative economy, they help to cement the Southeast cultural identity and evoke cultural pride. If somebody wants to say that they are proud to be Igbo, there have to be things that they have to be able to say that lends credence to this. And of course, this also aligns with the SEV2050 goals, how tourism, hospitality, and the creative economy can enhance the Southeast economy over the long term. And if appropriate attention is paid to this, diaspora and domestic tourism will be greatly enhanced. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Just one. I told you to do one thing.
You need to go back.
When you sleep, no,
You skipped one. Okay. So I'd like to talk about the landmark story or the landmark experience because in some ways I think that the challenges that the Southeast is facing is pretty much the same one that any person who is vested in tourism, hospitality, and the creative economy is also facing as well. So, like I did mention, Landmark is in this business. And what we effectively do is that we create an enabling environment for different businesses that are in different sectors of tourism, hospitality, and creativity to come together in one location to provide a variety of services. So the standard Landmark location, you can have fun, all sorts of leisure attractions, whether it's the upside down house or a climbing wall. You can eat, you can go to the various restaurants that are there. You can go to the cinema. Film House happens to be one of us. Nice to see you. You can stay in one of our hotels. You can have boat cruises. You can shop in any of our retail stores, swimming, and there's also live performances and the like. All of these different services and offerings all within one location. And the aim is to give the visitor a seamless experience where they can go from one thing to the other without having to face the stress of, say, logistics and the rest of it. But while it can be incredibly rewarding, it can also be very, very challenging because there are factors within your ecosystem and outside your ecosystem that you have no control over or very little influence as it may be. Next slide, please.
Yeah, frankly.
You need to go back one slide. Right. Okay, I'm sure I'll be preaching to the choir when I say that the Southeast is replete with many assets which can, in combination, enhance the, the Southeast socioeconomic good over the long term. In this slide here, you can see from a tourism and heritage assets perspective, you have the Ogunike Lake, caves rather, and then when you come to the creative economy and the cultural capital, you have things like the Akwete weaving that you have in Aba North, and you have the many masquerade dances that you have in the Southeast. And we have our fashion, our beauty industry, the movie industry. Then for festivals and events, you have the masquerades, as I mentioned before. And in the fourth quadrant, you have the hospitality and the urban leisure clusters, which help to support all these other assets. Next slide. So, what is the challenge that anybody who is interested in enhancing or promoting the Southeast credentials in this area, what are the challenges that they have? Some of them are mentioned here. One of them is fragmented planning. A lot of times you find that there is a disconnect between what people in the private sector are doing and what the public sector is doing. And I think that's why it's a good thing that this SEDC is having this program to create a forum where both parties can come together and talk about how they can collaborate, coordinate in a sustainable manner to achieve the things that we need to achieve for the Southeast. Another issue is multiple levies. You have tax from different strata of the government, from MDAs as well, and a lot of times you find that they're all for the same purpose, and it can be quite frustrating actually. there's also the issue of weak destination management. Time and again, I'll say it. When people come into the landmark ecosystem, they will have a great time. But we have very little control about the way, what it took for him to come to the ecosystem. Were the roads good? Was there proper signage? Was there proper communication regarding what's available here? And another thing is inconsistent experience, because time and again, what is, for instance, a 5-star hotel here might not necessarily be what it is in another location. You go to one place, this meal is great today, and tomorrow it's not. Possibly because, as against having systems in place, it was possibly person-oriented in a sense. So these are the challenges that we tend to have, and these are the challenges we believe that are besetting the Southeast in a sense. Next slide, please. So what is the shift required? We need to move from doing things in an isolated manner. And funny enough, Professor Ikechukwu, he said something about the average Igbo person is like, are you feeding me? So what are you going to tell me? I'll just do my thing myself. If we're going to be able to achieve that exponential growth, achieve that X factor, what we need to do is think more collaboratively. We need to be more coordinated, and we also need to think sustainably. So from having isolated, disparate projects, what if we had what is called the managed visitor economy, in the sense that the private sector and the public sector are coming together and they're thinking, what will make the visitors come? How do we make things easy for the visitor so they can come and have a great time? And it's something we say in Lamak all the time. We want people to come, have a great time, go back and tell people what the experience was so they can come again. So until the private and the public sector are thinking along those same lines, acting in consonance, we're going to have challenges. So that's the shift that's very much required. It needs to be centered on the visitor. The visitor needs to be in the middle, in the center of everything. Next slide, please. So this is like a visual representation of what collaboration looks like, but I'd like to give like a more illustrative example. Would you please, next slide, please. Okay, all right, so this is, like I said, an illustrative example. Bearing in mind what we're trying to achieve here is something that promotes the Southeast as a whole, and not just, say, Anambra State or Imo State, as it were. What if, for instance, we had a cross-state heritage circuit? Say we had a circuit tour that could go over a 3 or 4 day period that would involve the coal Enugu and the coal city, being the coal city, the caves, and then the craft routes. So what could happen in this instance is that, with respect to Enugu, the talk would center on the industrial and colonial heritage of Enugu State. A lot of people, I'm sure, especially the younger generation, they don't realize that for the better half of the 20th century, for the first half of the 20th century, Enugu was one of the economic hubs of the colonial Nigeria. And with very important events such as the Enugu Massacre of 1949, those sort of events, they helped to enhance nationalistic feelings and also the drive towards independence. This is very, very important history that people are forgetting. So that's what that tour would, it would follow. It would be about guided storytelling regarding Enugu. Then it would then go on to the Ogunike Caves, and where we'll talk about our natural and spiritual heritage through guided tours of the caves. Things that help to people understand the culture behind the Igbo people. Then, of course, the beautiful things that we do in terms of the aquatic weaving as a primary attraction, and also emphasizing the artisans and the craftswork that we have in the Southeast as well. So, in order to achieve something like this, each and every stakeholder would have to have a role in how this would be achieved. The stakeholders would have to have a role in how this would be achieved. So, hold on, please. I'm almost done. Go back there. Can you please go back? So, in terms of the roles, because in this instance, there will be 3 different players. The government would deal with issues like safety, access and cleanliness, and community engagement. The private sector would focus on packaging, sales, transport, hospitality and experiences, site stewardship, and cultural integrity. The SEDC would be the interface between these 2 stakeholders to ensure that this is a success. And the beauty of it is that it would use existing assets, it will require coordination and not construction, so it wouldn't be capital intensive, for instance, and it should be immediately sellable to the domestic and the diaspora travelers. So in a nutshell, these are the clear roles, and the SEDC comes in the middle of this to ensure that this happens. The next slide, please. So the SEV2050 call to action. Our proposal is that we endorse a visitor economy compact, that we pilot state and regional DMOs. DMOs are destination management organizations that take care of the whole visitor experience, right from the moment somebody decides they want to come and visit the Southeast till they eventually get to the destination and go back. It would also include aligning festivals, routes, and creative hubs. And it would be good to agree a 90-day action plan for how this will be achieved. All right. Thank you so much. I'm very, very privileged to have attended this event. Lamarck in particular is very happy to have been a part of it. And we're very excited about the things happening in the Southeast. And we want to be a part of it. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Yes? I need an engaging crowd today because I know it's late, but I need everybody to engage. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're just waiting for our moderator as well. She's not here at the moment, but I'll just start until she comes. So good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. One thing you'll all appreciate about myself is that even though I'm Nigerian to the core, I grew up in England. So me growing up in England, what does that mean? I keep to time, and I'm not going to take too much time here because I respect everybody's time. I'm not going to take too much time. So just so everybody knows, I've flown here today from UK. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just here because I genuinely want change. So again, I'll be honest. I'm not here to just talk. I'm not here to talk English. I'm here to break down the barriers. I'm not here to listen to myself. I believe that governance is not about believing you know everything. It's about listening. It's about listening to your people, listening to those already in the industry, like Amobi and like yourself there, listening to the challenges they face and the solutions that they already see. So that's what real leadership is, instead of just talking and talking and talking around in circles. So we'll just start from the slide. So obviously we've got the mission, the reality, the core problem, the infrastructure building, and the call to action. If we go to the next slide. So the mission. The mission that we have for SEDC for sports is infrastructure development, economic growth, inclusive and sustainable development through collaborative partnerships. These are the images that we envision for the future of something that can come to the Southeast. I believe in one place, not in every single state. We are not that big. We need it in one place. So MD is here. If we can figure out what state to put this in and work together, not in silo, this is what we can achieve. Next slide.
Give him one.
There's no need for me to read through that. We'll just keep going. So the reality. This is the reality that we face currently in Nigeria. Some people may laugh, but this is the reality. So the vision, we have a lot of vision, but now it's time to harness real change. We want people to become professional football players. We want people to come into the sport, but we expect them to play on these surfaces. How does that make sense? How does it make sense for anybody? So this is currently what we have, so we need to improve. We have strong ambition ideas, but we lack accountability. We lack infrastructure. We see failed leagues, facilities that cannot be maintained. And all, like I said, all states work in silo. Without security and infrastructure, the foundation is weak. And without a strong foundation, progress can never last. The next one. So let's be clear. Let's be clear about the real challenge. Nigeria does not lack talent. As we can see from the slides, we have an abundance in talent, not just in football, but in all the different sports. If you can see on the end, that's an NFL player. We haven't even opened the discussion for NFL. Yet we're built, even me, I could have been an NFL player the way I'm built. Everyone looks at me and they're like, look how big you are. So I could be built to play an NFL player. And it's not difficult. They run programs where they test your agility, your sprint, your speed, and you can be drafted to a college like this. Why are we not exploring these things? So we've seen all the stars. We've got Ademola Lookman, Victor Osimhen, back-to-back African Footballers of the Year. What did they come from? Dirt pitches. So just imagine if we can build the infrastructure, think about the talent that we can create in different sports. So the issue, like I said, is structure, long-term planning, consistency, and we need to create safe, usable infrastructure available to everybody, not just the elite, not just those that can pay, but we need it to be for everybody. When all those elements are missing, talent cannot be sustained. Next. We'll stay here. Go back one. Oh no, back. Yeah, here. So this is a possibility of what's possible. So the pitch that you see here on the right was actually the dirt pitch from previous slides. So infrastructure is the foundation of everything we are discussing. Safe, accessible spaces create engagement. They allow us to build a pipeline from grassroots to elite level. This is why SEDC has identified sites across the 5 states And these are places that we can start immediately if we have the support. The reason we've identified different universities, and the reason that I've identified universities to start with is because we can maintain universities, we can secure universities, because one of the biggest challenges is overuse of pitches. People don't realize the lifespan of an AstroTurf pitch is not a lot. Nigerians will use an AstroTurf for 20 years, and then players will get injured. So by putting in universities, we can control the hours, we can control the people that go in, and then we can control the usage. So we want to expand into universities, and then obviously we want to get to schools, and we want to get to the different academies. Next slide. So Beverly has joined us now, who's our moderator. I'm going to fly through this very quickly, because I want it to be more of an interactive session. I don't want to just be talking up here. Yeah, this is fine. So my expertise, who am I? So I was a former Premier League player. I played for these clubs. I played for Nigeria. But that's not enough to go into... Thank you. Thank you. I also won a silver medal in the Beijing Olympics with Nigeria, so I'm very proud of that. But since then, I don't believe that that is enough. I believe that I had to go on and do the work. So since then, I went and studied. I've got a master's in sporting directorship. I've gone on and I own businesses in sports where I own golf clubs, I own paddle, different various multi-sports things. So I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. So yeah, and we're also in process of buying different football clubs as well. So I understand the finances and the nuances of owning a sporting organization, as does this guy here. So let's go to the next slide. So what does actionable change look like? Sometimes I talk and people might say I'm rude, but I'm not trying to be rude. I hear a lot of talking, but I never hear what can we do tomorrow? What are the actionable changes we can do tomorrow or today? This is the most simple change that we can do. In Nigeria, what we love to do is build big stadiums that we can't maintain. We'll build big facilities that we can't maintain. Me personally, I grew up on a field like this. This is how I got spotted for Everton, on a field like this. I wasn't in an academy. I wasn't in some institution. I was playing with my friends in a team, and we get seen in a place like this. And that is what we can do across the whole of the Southeast. I was talking to the commissioner just earlier. We can put facilities like this, maintain them. We can even send young students or retired people to maintain the grass. There's courses to do this. It's not expensive. Why don't we, all we ever do is talk about AstroTurf. Build a borehole, water the pitch. AI does this. It's not difficult. Or if we've got the money, we build AstroTurf pitches. But if we want to create change tomorrow without these big projects, yes, I want the big projects. That's what I want. But tomorrow, this is what I want. I want us to do this from young ages, under 5s, under 6. The problem with Nigeria as well, we don't like the process. We don't like the process at all. I got spotted at 8 years old, not at 16, 8. I trained for 8 years before I even got an opportunity. But in Nigeria, you'll have academy people come just to export talent. What we need to do as government, we need to create spaces like this for everybody, from every walk of life, not just football. I'm just showing an example of football. We need running tracks, we need swimming, we need everything. Multi-sports where people can come for free. That is government's job, for free. That is our job, to provide these environments for free. Private sector, local clubs, they're the ones that can make money charge, but facilities like this should be available for free. Okay? And it's not expensive. It's not expensive to do this. Even me personally, just my own relationships, I have managed to get 2 pitches donated. They're not here yet because I need to see where we're going to put them. So yes, we're waiting for, yes, we need money. We need private sector to help. We want government to provide the foundation. But all of us can use our resources. I can ask people, I can make phone calls. All of us can work collaboratively together for this change to come. So, call to action. We have our clear vision. I'm tired of talking English. If I hear more English talking, I will not come again. I will not. No one's begging me either, by the way. Well, MD has done a fantastic job as well, setting this whole thing up. So I need to give him his kudos. And just lastly, because I don't want to take too much time, another fantastic thing about MD is he doesn't come and put his ideas on anybody. What he does, he leads. He brings people together that know different things in different industries, and he says to us, do. We just go and do, and then we relay it back to him, and he says, if that's good, do it. And you supported, everybody here supported. And that's how leadership works. Me, myself here, I don't know everything. I know about the English system. That's why I was here. I was having conversations with yourself, and I am always picking their brains because I need to understand what is happening here. But what we need to do tomorrow, create free, safe places where people can play sport for free. Nigeria, all we talk about is ROI, ROI. No, for free. Let people play and the economy will grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we're going to chill and have a conversation and ask questions.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly observed. I shall be your moderator for tonight. My name is Beverly Abakoba-Onyejanya. I'm a sports, entertainment, and tech lawyer. It's a pleasure to be between these 2 fine gentlemen in sports. But permit me to decentralize the sport a bit, because I know we talk a lot of football. Football is the national sport, I do know that. But it's really important that we see sport in as holistic a manner as possible. Because after all, we still have basketball. Basketball is pretty popular in Nigeria as well. We have handball, we have netball, we have cricket. I think the conversation today is about how do we empower an entire industry. And it's not just about, yeah, I know you said that it's not just about ROI, ROI, ROI. Both of us, we always get into a bit of a banter, which is great because we can't always agree. That way we come up with more interesting solutions. So I think today's conversation will be hinged on 5 pillars. But sorry, I will start the conversation with the brutality of economics. Show us the money. So in Nigeria, typically, we look at sport in a recreational way. In fact, I like what you said about the government should put this infrastructure in, it should be free. But the problem is, how do we maintain these places? So that's another issue altogether. But the issue is now, how do we create sustainability in sport? What does that mean? How does sport fund itself, whereby we are not constantly begging the government for money, for handouts? Again, back to the English system, I know they do have their funds, there's like, for instance, in England, they do have Sport England, fine, but we want to grow beyond that. So I think I'm gonna come to you and ask you a question, and I'm gonna be, not too hard on you, but you are the GM of Rangers International, and you're doing quite well. You have accolades, you're one of the youngest, most successful GMs in the history of Nigeria. I'm gonna ask you this question. Does the club really drive its commercials? Can the club actually survive, be truthful, without government subsidies? And where would you say are the best areas of commercialization for the club? I know you're doing a lot of amazing things, a lot. You should see his WhatsApps, amazing. The storytelling that Obi Asika spoke about, he's doing it, trust me. but sometimes storytelling doesn't convert. So what are you doing to drive that commercial muscle for your club, just to encourage other clubs in Nigeria, and not just in football, across all sports?
Thank you so much, Beverly. I will say that it's a tough one because when you look at the ecosystem of sports in Nigeria, generally, it's difficult. In Lagos, I had a long conversation with Victor, and he said it's not just in Nigeria alone, but around the world. It's when you look at the history, the cash book, for instance, is on minus. But then they are, viable, they are sustainable because you have investors coming in. So I will speak from a practical point of view. The Rangers turned around in the past 2-3 years. So when we came on board, we found, for instance, that the jerseys we wear in Rangers, we just bear Rangers here. And then nobody is paying to advertise, to bring money to the club. And we said, this is a starting point for us. Fine, it's dirty now, but we can clean this up. And then we decided to speak to companies, institutions. We pitched the idea of the identity of our club, the only club in the country that has never gone on relegation since its establishment.
There was a clap, I think.
In 1970. And again, you need that political will. When you have a leader, for instance, the governor says, Commissioner for Sports, GM of Rangers, go and professionalize Rangers. And we started building presentations to say, we have a cathedral, it's 22,000 capacity. We can fill up the cathedral the day we play on Oriental Derbies. Okay, and Ichebe Nigerian Limited. Can you imagine the impact of having our players wear an Ichebe Nigerian Limited on a night we are playing Rangers versus Enyimba at the cathedral? Not just 22,000. The last time we had that, we had over 44,000 because we had people climbing the floodlights. And we were fined for overcrowding. And we started from that point. We got our free invest, 150 million. For the first time, we won the league. And then, immediately we won the league, we got a Danish tractor company, Notra Tractors, 200 million. And we didn't just say, oh, we are comfortable with this. We decided now to go in line with international best practices. Player passport. Most clubs in Africa don't know about these things because it's embedded there in the FIFA regulation on the status and transfer of players. Most clubs have lost money on training compensation, on solidarity contribution, and these are places you can become sustainable. Again, you talk of sustainability and then you are signing a player who is 40 years. It doesn't work. And we introduced for the first time the academy system in Rangers. We have the under 10, we have the under 13, we have the under 15, we have the under 18. And next month, the under 18, we've got the approval from His Excellency the Governor. The under 18 will be going for the first time in the history of our club to Viareggio in Italy to play the Viareggio Cup. Now, and the idea is this. We want to minimize government funding. And how do you minimize government funding? Transfer of players, inflow from solidarity contribution, and training compensation. On record, Africa has lost 400 million on solidarity.
What currency, please?
$400 million on that alone. And we decided again to internally make sure that our profile is clean. We got registered on the FIFA Clearing House. We got registered on the FIFA TMS properly. And when we did the first major transfer after we won the league, it was just $40,000. And we could see the fans. They were so excited. This is money. And I'm like, wow, this is nothing. Because I know that Victor's first transfer to Everton was about £6 million. Yeah. And who says that the captain of Rangers currently, Chidebere Nwobodo, who plays like Lionel Messi,
can't attract that amount.
Who says he cannot attract £6 million? If he attracts £6 million, I will tell the governor, I want to build a smart school for you, for the state. You understand? So that is the aspect we are looking at.
Yeah. But as we all know, value attracts investors. And I think that's where I'm going to segue to Victor, because that 6 million transfer fee was hinged on fundamentals. Sport, like any industry, oil and gas, aviation, shipping, requires fundamentals to be in place. Because sports, like any industry, has assets. The players are assets. How are they identified? Just like you said, you've now moved to the TMS system so you can trace your assets. So now, you are a former international, now turned investor. You're on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Brutal honesty. You look around at the terrain in Nigeria today, be honest. And to be honest, your face already says it. Would you, as an investor, today put money in the Nigerian sporting landscape? Be it football, be it tennis, be it basketball. Yes or no? And give us your reasons either way.
It's a loaded question because what we need to understand about sport is there's different industries or different levels within the sport that can make money. If I want to set up an academy, I have friends that make money in the academy system. They get players, they export them abroad, they're doing their job, but that doesn't help Nigeria. How does that help Nigeria? What we need to do in Nigeria, if I'm talking about football, we need to privatize the league. It's as simple as that. And I know that goes further than talking about SEDC, but we need to privatize the league. 17 clubs out of the 20 teams in Nigeria are owned by the government. It can't work.
Can't work.
It can't work. Everywhere else in the world, even Saudi Arabia, that have more money than everybody in this world, are privatizing their teams now. And that's why you see the spending less, because the Americans are coming in, putting systems in place. But in Nigeria, we don't have, let's be honest, some states don't have enough money for roads, water, infrastructure projects, but you're still holding on to the teams. How does that even make sense? Give it to private sector, incentivize private sector via taxes, via whatever it is. We're looking at a team. And the problems that we've faced trying to take, because it's for political, that's the conversation for another day. I'm not going to go into that because I see too many screens.
I have another question to ask you, Victor, before I move to Amobi. And this question is about a lot of the time in sport, we tend to forget what it actually takes to, I guess I'll use football as an example. For every footballer, behind that footballer, you have, a coach, an administrator, a data analyst,
physio,
a lawyer, marketing, negotiator, so many things. You've come from, I would say, quite a professional environment. How different was that environment to what you see here today? Like growing up, how much did it play a role in having a successful career, I would say?
Look, in England, we're very fortunate and we're blessed that the systems and structures are much better. But because when I was young, I didn't have to worry about anything. My club takes care of everything. We were like children. Travel, food, housing, everything. I didn't take care of anything. In the Nigerian system, even in the top, in the Super Eagles, you have problems. In the basketball, problems. Athletics, problems. All the problems. But what we could do in the Southeast, we could be the pioneers and lead. Show the rest of the country what is possible. Amobi is here. I say in front of him, he is the best sporting leader in Nigeria.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He is. And I was following his results at the start of the season. And because he was playing young players, and the problems about playing young players in Nigeria, they need to change this as well. They need to bring down the age group of players in the Nigerian Premier League. It's too high. How are you going to... I made my debut at 16 against Chelsea, 17. You've got players in Nigeria at 25, but they're saying, we know how it is. So...
So let me...
So wait there. So we've got an amazing executive here like Amobi, who was playing younger players in Enugu. At the start of the season, they were not doing so well because when you play younger players, they can play good today, they can play good tomorrow. It's not consistent. But if you look at what's happening today, they're like third in the league now. Because if you need to give people time, investment is time. We cannot invest into sport as Nigeria and expect an ROI tomorrow. No. We have insecurity problems here, whether we like to believe it or not, we do. If we invest in sport, it reduces idleness, crime, antisocial behavior. I've just taken a facility in England from the local council because they cannot run private sector. And I've created a multi-sports in England. And they estimate that it's going to bring down crime by X amount % just from that. So imagine if we could do that here in Nigeria across all the different sports. And we have a fantastic opportunity to do that in the Southeast. And under the leadership of MD Mark and the other honorable guests that we have, and we have a lot of forward-thinking people. All we need is the money, the space from yourself and the rest of the commissioners throughout. I would have expected them here today. Thank you so much for coming. I don't understand why the rest of them are not here. No, I'm not joking. I don't understand why the rest of them are not here. We cannot work separate in different states. Everybody should be here listening to the conversation. If not, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
So I've come here for free. I've paid thousands of pounds on my flight to come. They're in other states just across. Come. Take part in the conversation.
Yeah.
I'll talk raw. I don't care. No one pays me nothing. I don't need anything. So, yeah.
So now, Victor, you've emphasized the importance of investment. And I think we need to talk about the importance of non-financial investment. I personally never hear any talk about training, capacity building. Again, just comparing and contrasting. And the reason why we're doing the compare and contrast is not to denigrate where we are. No, it is to borrow lessons from places that work and implement how it suits us. But I think it has to be said, and Amobi, why I like talking to you a lot about training and capacity building is because you are someone that has gone through the rigors of business administration in sport. And I think it has to be said, we don't emphasize the importance of capacity building in sport enough. We set up stadiums, we set up centers, and then we throw in people that do not have the skills. So Amobi, I want you to, just remind us, how important is it to have the right skills? Leadership is clear, you have it. But apart from that, administrative skills, and how do you ensure that the club where you work, the people have the right skills? Because I know what you're doing in Rangers is not an accident. It's a function of what you have been trained on. Garbage in, garbage out. You can't give what you don't have. So,
Okay, thank you so much. I think that capacity building is very, very important. And when you build yourself, you are able to function properly. And I'm happy that this is a Southeast development affair. So we want to develop the Southeast. Now, from a practical standpoint, when we came on board at Rangers, when you look at the region, Victor has done some courses, maybe with UEFA. I've done my UEFA CFM. I've done my FIFA Master. But how many people can afford to do that? And we decided to set up the Rangers Innovation Hub.
Nice.
And currently, I'm speaking with the people from the FIFA CIES to see how they can come and partner with Rangers. Already there is one in Cairo, there is one in South Africa. And then we can have the Nigerian model. Now, what capacity building does is simple. Again, I love being practical. When we introduced the academicals in Rangers, a lot of fans kicked against it. They said, no, we just want to win the league. Why are we gathering children? Why are we bringing children? And I said, I'm not just going to bring these children. We are going to form a female team, which we did. So, what capacity what capacity does to you is this. You are not scared of anything because you know that when you live here, you are going to the next place to continue to develop the system. So for me and for all of us at Rangers, and indeed for every right-thinking person who loves the growth of the Southeast and the growth of sports, we should really center on developing capacity. There are young people. The last time I was here to speak on the TEDx, Enugu TEDx, and I told them there are a lot of things you can achieve. There are a lot of things you can do. If you can play football, you can become a nutritionist. You can become a psychologist. You can become a sports lawyer. You can be anything within the sports ecosystem, not just football. When our athlete had the issue of switch, when she wanted to switch from nationality, she needed lawyers. So they don't need to run for Nigeria. So for us, we feel that the 5 Southeast states, and again, Victor, I saw that you got emotional. And I have to toe that line.
I'm not
again.
emotional.
My commissioner is here, and I'm very happy he's here because he goes to the ESCO. But what of the other commissioners from the other regions? I know they may be listening to us on their phones and all that, but these are conversations we must have. As at Atlanta 96, we had Mary Onyali, we had Choma Jungwa, Kanu Nwankwo gave us the gold. We had a lot of people from our region. That means the Southeast is the spiritual hub of sports. And if that is so, we must then scale up. And how do we scale up? If the people who are supposed to advise the governor are not in conversations like this, then we are not making headway. Do you understand? So, in the aspect of capacity, again, people need to, again, trust in themselves and be patient. Because, for instance, currently, we did a course in the Innovation Hub. And what was the course we did? When we came back to run Rangers, we found that many fans don't even understand what is happening with the club. And how do you get the trust of your fans? By being transparent, by pushing out everything you do to them to see. What we did was to get someone who has this expertise in content creation. And this guy was a youth corps member. I told him, you can serve in Rangers. And before he finished his youth service, AfriInvest said, who is doing content for you? We told AfriInvest, look at the guy, Kinsley. And they said, we want to employ him. I said, wow, I won't stop him. So he's now in Lagos. But what did we do? We said, Kinsley, we have an innovation hub. Through the Rangers Foundation, we are going to throw open young people who want to learn content creation is going to be funded by Rangers, and about 21 persons came. 3 of them are currently with Rangers, 1 with the youth team, 1 with the female team, 1 with the men team. So you see,
and that's how jobs are created. Excellent.
Can you see why he's the best CEO in Nigeria?
Okay, before we open up the floor to questions, I just want to touch on something you said, how the Southeast, people can argue with themselves, is the spiritual home of sport in Nigeria. I believe that, I really do. And how can we attract the diaspora? How can we connect the diaspora? And that leads me to think about something Obi Asika always says. How do we create more products? How do we connect the diaspora? And that was from Carlos's conversation with hospitality and tourism. We need products to connect the diaspora to us here. So that's a commercial. So that commercial aspect of sports then links the diaspora, because we want the diaspora to spend their dollars, their pounds, their yen. How can they actively participate in the sports industry, in the Southeast?
Wow. Thank you again. Victor became my friend because we were doing things right.
Yeah. Like attracts like.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
We started chatting.
Yeah.
He was in the UK, and we started talking.
Yeah.
Now, another practical instance. I love being practical.
Yeah.
You are talking of diaspora now.
Yeah.
Currently, we have a partnership arrangement with a club called FC Schaffhausen in Switzerland. We are speaking with Meta, FC Meta, currently as well. the Swiss community, Enugu indigenes living in Switzerland, in December, they came back here, I think in this hall, and we presented to them Rangers jerseys, and they said, we love how transparent this is. Now, why am I bringing this instance? I'm bringing this instance because we have bigger institutions, sports institutions. You talked of basketball.
Yeah.
Are you putting these things out there? Can people follow? Can people call in and ask you questions? Can people walk into your office?
Are they
and
online?
And then you are saying, do I have an appointment with you? You are a public servant. You should have an appointment at all times. I tell them in the office, football is 247. Every day you wake up, go online, there is a football match somewhere around the world. So you must be active, very active. So connecting with diaspora is about being very transparent. It's about being very hands-on with whatever you are doing. When I got to Switzerland to head to Schaffhausen to sign with the club, FC Schaffhausen, what do I have to do? To look for the leadership of the Igbo community there. And Mr. Bonner and Nioke, he had to host me. He was like, wow, so this is happening in Rangers. And I said, yes. And again, sharing of idea. Victor knows Kanu. Kanu is our legend, the chairman of Enyimba. We talk a lot. And when we did what we did with Schaffhausen, I spoke with Kanu and I said, legend, you are an Arsenal legend. You have a lot of connection. And just a month or so after, they had one with a Norwegian club. And that is how to grow the region. We have Heartland FC of Owerri, formed in 1976. What is happening to Heartland? Are you saying there are no indigenes from Imo State in diaspora? Again, excellence brings these people
Absolutely.
back.
Let me just, and I know we're going to open it to the floor. The things that Amobi's saying, they're so basic. But the basic things are difficult. And it's putting the right people in positions to do the basic things. So these ideas that he has and the things that he has, it's not rocket science. Everybody else is doing it around the world. So it's putting the right people in positions to be able to do this. So when we talk about sporting, other jobs in sports, sporting director, marketing, all of these different things, we need to create these jobs for young people. Because Nigeria, we have a lot of followers of different teams that want to be involved in sports. They can't be football players, they're just online. But they can use the knowledge that they have. If you speak to a Nigerian about sport, he knows everything. He knows every single thing. Let him put that into something practical that can make money for himself and his family. So these things are so basic, but it's creating the courses for them. And then, sorry, the last thing that we said is, how we do this is, what's her name? Lloyd? No, the lady. Stephanie. Stephanie spoke about storytelling. A lot of other people talk about storytelling. We need to tell the story of these teams. The whole of the Southeast together needs to tell a story of football, of sport. We need to be able to follow these teams. I don't know what my own state is doing. And I'm from Anambra. I don't know anything what we're doing. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? I haven't reached out to them. What are you doing in this state? No response. So that's what we're working with. That's literally what we're working with. But it'll change. We're all eager to change.
Hope isn't a strategy.
Exactly.
We definitely need a plan.
Exactly.
And again, just alluding to what you said, getting the right people in means they need to be trained. They need to have the right courses. They need to have the right support. Because sometimes you can have the right people, but there's no support. There's no training. Sorry, there's always one reason or the other why you don't want to train. I know you are also very good at that, capacity building. You're always pushing your people. See, it's like I'm giving him a lot of PR. But he's my guy. He's a lighthouse for a lot of clubs and sporting academies, and again, it's not an accident, it's not by coincidence, it's deliberate, it's strategic. I didn't become a sports lawyer by wishing it. I had to understand it, get deep into the industry, learn it, do courses. We need to professionalize. That's not really a word, but I've made it up. We need to professionalize sport. Sport needs to be seen as taken as seriously as any other industry. It's just like how we've been relegated to the back end of today, and there's not enough people in the room to listen to what we have to say, which is quite unfortunate. So even the way we put these things together, we need to kind of make a more concerted effort to get sports at the front of the agenda so more people can hear. Because the work we need to do in sport, it's going to take a lot of effort to turn things around. But I think we need to get people involved. Lots of questions. I can see hands on the left-hand side. So I don't know if we can get someone to help. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So just say your name, who's your question directed to, and then shoot.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Ezokoli Blessing Chimeze Jack. I'm a co-founder of a sport club based in Enugu here called the Jele Sports Club. And we played in NNL last season. And by the way, we were at Vereggio. I think we inspired GM to want to take his voice to Vereggio this year. So mine will not be a question. I just want to contribute to the topic, right? First off, I'm very happy that we still have the likes of Kenem Paro here and Madam Stephanie, because they would have to play a role even in the topic we are discussing, because storytelling is important. I spent the last 5 months in Nnewi, where Kene is building massive, what's it called again? Cinema, by the way, right? So, Madam, maybe your next movie would have to be around sports, telling the story of sports, because now you're doing Aba riot and all. Again, we tried the model of not involving government in sports, because Ijele Sports Club we were building a membership-based system where we didn't have to bother anybody. So we wanted people to buy membership of the club and belong to the club. I wouldn't say we have not succeeded. I wouldn't say it's a failure, but I tell you that it's a very difficult, yes, it's a very difficult process. And then sometimes we've sunk in over 150 million in the project, and I can tell you that we've been burnt, right? Yeah. So, but mine is straightforward solution to what I think that we can do. My MD, the chairman of Algon in Nigeria is Chinedu Ekeke, who is currently the chairman of Isikwato local government. He's a young guy like us. These are the kind of people I expect to be in this room when we're having this conversation. And I mentioned him because there are 95 local governments in Southeast. And I think that the sports, whatever infrastructure you're talking about, I think that Southeast Development Commission should actually partner with local government, right, for management. So when we build it, they are able to sustain and maintain it. So it remains free, right? And one of the reasons why I talked about, or I was talking about storytelling is because the culture of sport in Southeast is dying. You have to be extremely good for you to have a pocket of fans come into the stadium. And that can be very discouraging. Yeah. It's not even about making money now, but people coming into the stadium to cheer the players alone can even, make them to perform more, right? And then, there's a lot of connection between sport and tourism. There's a lot that can be discussed in this particular, But like you said, some of the decision makers, the people that will be in the room when these things are discussed, or people that should actually take, actions, most of them are not here, apart from the, Honorable Commissioner Lloyd Ekweramadu, which is quite commendable. I mean, he's been here for so long. And, this is the kind of people we need. You don't need to know everything, but you just have to be open-minded enough to learn from other people and then implement.
I'm glad you said that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Because the
so
sports
much.
Industry, we need to begin to rely on advisors.
Yeah.
If you are not an investment specialist, you seek the services of an investment specialist. VCs, PEs are getting into sports. Financing is a major thing. People are looking for where to put their money. Trust me, there is funding and financing, but you might not be aware because you're not in the financial space. So I think if we leave here with anything, it has to be that us in sports, and I'm saying us because I feel like I'm part of it, we need to be, yeah, definitely, but just the last point, we need to begin to seek professional advisory, investment advisory, legal advisory, and so on and so forth.
And just to add, when you speak of professional advice, it's leadership again.
Leadership.
I'm happy the commissioner is here.
Yeah.
Every month, every 2 months, we sit to speak not just about Rangers. If you go to the cathedral, by the way, the cathedral is the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium. It's called the cathedral. If you go to the cathedral, by the gate of the cathedral, I think there is boxing, there is cricket or judo, a lot of things that he has brought in. Why? Because we sit down to speak about these things. We sit down to understand, how the Southeast or how Enugu can really help. There is a place in Ogu. The people who live there can win sprint in Olympics because they have to climb Amoli. We were there last week. You need to see their legs. And I'm like, why are we lagging behind? What's the federation in charge of athletics doing? So in Enugu, what we do practically is to sit. Sometimes he will say, I'm in your office. And then we are not talking of Rangers. Sometimes I'll go to his office and then we are thinking of how do we bring in secondary school students? How do we organize primary school, not for football, maybe for volleyball, maybe for basketball, for handball, and you find that these things begin to work. You understand? Tomorrow, for instance, Victor obliged me. We are going to talk to a primary school in Enugu. The kids will be wild. And you can imagine the impact of that. One person may just be like, I want to be like Victor Anichebe. I want to win bronze in Olympics or gold, inspired by Victor.
Silver.
Just to correct. Don't demote him. But more people want. Thank you so much for that contribution. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
Your
very
name,
much.
please.
Yeah. My name is Nnamdi Omonnabuike. I am a community youth leader in my local government in Ngobala in Imo State. My questions are rhetorical, so they are kind of suggestions, but I also need your insights. The first point is capacity building. And Echebe, you have acquired a master's in a rare field. Can we domesticate it in UNN, establish a center for sports administration, or even the 5 federal universities in Southeast, and offer courses to every supervisory counselor for sports in the 95 local governments in Alibu? Practical. When you have a center for excellence in sports administration, you are training the next generation. You are training the trainers that will train the trainers in the future. And then you give them certificates and you say, with this certificate, we will open you up for opportunities. The MD, sir, I think this is, okay, or the SCDC, I think this is something that can be endowed. Rangers has a hub, an academy. Why not translate it to a degree awarding center, endowed chair, a professorial chair in UNN? That will be distinct from the normal runnings of an NUC-backed curriculum. That makes it easy for you to cascade and domesticate what you have up there. The second rhetorical question, which is a suggestion, is budgeting. Why can't the 15 senators in Southeast sit down with SEDC and say, 2027 budget, build an Olympic-sized stadium in your senatorial zone? It might be difficult, but impossibility is nothing. Maybe they're looking for a nudge. Maybe they're looking for an encouragement. But we cannot say it cannot happen. Because I know that there are some who would be willing to make this happen. So if there's a sort of counterpart arrangement between the commission and these representatives, because they sit down and appropriate. Why not appropriate one stadium in your senatorial zone? And then the third one is incentives. How do we set up a Southeast sports festival, sports competition across Southeast, So that when this infrastructure, when these capacity buildings have been set up, how do we make it work? It's by practicalizing. But how do we practicalize it? Create our own sports festival. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, moderator, and because I want to thank you. My name is Engineer Isdo.
Can we just for 1 second?
Can we react to him?
Just to answer to this.
And then the gentleman in the
If not, I'll forget.
There's a few red caps.
I align with your thinking with the education. That was when we first started this journey 1 year ago, that was my first point. Everyone wants to become the athlete, but 0.03% make it, right? So the education part and creating sporting directors, these different things, business consultants in sports, to me is more important than actually the athletes itself.
Absolutely.
Personally. There's more jobs available.
Absolutely.
To become a professional footballer in my age group,
Very hard.
there was one.
It's a fluke.
It was me and my best friend, that's it. Out of 500, 1,000, 1 million kids.
Yeah.
So to base everything on that is idiotic. It's idiocy in my opinion. However, so we're already doing things along this line, and hopefully we'll be able to share some things with you. We've already started speaking to some schools in the UK so we can have accreditation.
Yeah, shameless plug for me. I've set up a Business of Sports Institute Africa.
Yes.
It's online.
So fantastic.
It's live from this month. And again, I'm echoing Victor. We're coming here to talk about things we are going to do in the short term or things we're already doing. So it was really important for me to start that last year. So happy to have a conversation. But
And then, sorry, just the second question. So what was the second one? I forgot.
Infrastructure.
Stadium.
So budgeting, yes. Listen, I'll leave MD to figure out the budgeting.
I actually wanted to respond to that. When we were outside, we were talking of England, the two major arenas
George's.
in England. We don't need the senators to build Olympic-sized arenas.
Certainly not fine.
What do we need? You say you are from Enugu, right? Okay, you are from Imo State. Dan Anyam Stadium. What we need is to make Dan Anyam Stadium world class. And then you say how many local governments? 95 local governments have mini arenas, facilities where children can come and kick about. Okay? In Cairo, where my family stays, in our estate, in our compound, I train children for free. They just come and kick about. How do you discover? How do you scout them? By just standing to watch. Again, another practical instance. The current best left back in the country is from Rangers, Kenneth Iboke, assistant captain of the under-20. Do you know how he was discovered? I went to Nsukka to see my mom, and on my way back to Enugu, I stopped by a local community pitch, and I saw one boy sprinting. No boot, nothing. He will sprint down and cross. Then I was the team manager of Rangers, 2018-19. And I decided to wait. After the game, I said, who organized the Christmas tournament? They said, the Reverend Father. I said, please, I am the team manager of Rangers. I like this. They were actually two. I like these two guys. Can they come to Enugu 4th of January? And then they said they have to go to the farm to work and get money and come. I said, no problems. When it's time, I will send money to you. And then when it was time, I sent money and I said to the coach, look at these two boys. Don't say because I brought them. And after some days, coach said, the other guy should go back. I'm not sure he's going to make it. But this guy has got talent. And I said, for real? Okay, guy, take money, buy boots, buy this, buy that. And then when I resigned as team manager in 2021, and I went to Europe to study, and I was calling the people at Rangers, and I said, how is Kenneth? I think it's time to play him in the main team. And they kept saying, he's small. I said, no. Because by studying in Europe, I found that it's not about the size or the age. It's about the person's capacity. And then one day, I was in the class in Italy, SDA Bocconi, and then Kenneth called me. on video call, and he said the coach, Abdul Mekaba, that he took him to Kaduna because the big guy who was the left back for Rangers got injured. So they registered him for that match. And he was so excited, and he said to me that they voted him the man of the match. Kenneth was the only player. If you are online, you can Google Kenneth Iboke. He was the only player invited for the World Cup qualifiers, home-based World Cup qualifiers. And then they won the Wafu B in Ghana. Now, he was playing just in a little space. So we need one world-class facility, maybe in a state, and then those little arenas, not just for football. You know, we've been talking about football. For basketball, volleyball, they must not have the proper court. Just have something where they can play. You can discover people. Have tracks. These tracks may not be world-class tracks, but tracks where children can run. You can discover these children. Again, it's important that you spoke about those with the money, the senators, the ministers, the governors, and we have to continue speaking. One thing that has left us where we are today is that we have to continue talking. Part of why I came back as the GM of Rangers was that people, Enugu guys, we are talking. The governor never knew me. They were saying there is a guy in England, there is a guy in Italy, there is a guy in Switzerland, because that was how we moved from the FIFA master. And then one day I got a call. So we have to keep talking, and we must talk passionately about our region. I'm so passionate about the growth of the Igbo land because I believe in what God has given to our region.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah. And I just I just want to make a point, if that's okay. You know, you said, why can't the Southeast cluster have their own games? Let me tell you something. You don't need to wait for, people high up there to do it. You can bring people together from across the different states. I'm sure you're already in sport. You must know other people that are passionate. You come together and, you take football. You get a pitch in Abia. You get a pitch in Enugu. Before you know it, you've created your own little cluster. Sometimes you need small momentum to drive. But if you keep waiting for this massive momentum, things will never happen. You on your own with 4 other people can create Southeast Games. And when you do the games, it eventually becomes acknowledged and recognized by the powers that be. I mean, after all, when I think of some of the games that my children attend, I have 3 children, 2 of them are sports scholars. One of the swimming competitions that my daughter attends in the UK, one man just started it too. Swimming, I think it's ESSA, English Swimming School Association. One man started it. I researched, and it's now an England-wide games. It just takes one, and then you find people like yourself, and before you know it, you're building momentum. So I think the lesson again is, please don't wait for government to do things. I'm telling you, there's victors in the room that you can talk to. If he likes your proposal, he might just give you a look. There's people like Amobi that are masters at administration. And we need to kind of get out of this, I'm waiting for the government. I run a football club. I've run it for 13 years, basketball and football. I didn't wait for the government. I did it by myself. I'm not anywhere near where I should be, but at least I can say I didn't wait. So please, let's not wait. There's so much we can do together. We're all here. I think after this, we should all share contacts beyond today, so it's not a talk shop. We need to share contacts. Who's into football? Who's into basketball? Who's into administration,
All right.
I think 2 more questions and then we'll probably...
Okay. Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, Engineer Isa is my name. I am the national coordinator. Actually, I'm from Imo State, and I'm the national coordinator of Southeast Communities Development Association. Excellent. Actually, we tried to organize the Southeast LGA soccer competition sometime in 2018. We had a demo in Imo State, and that was how it ended. But I want to ask what people are saying, like Victor saying, from what my brother said here. Is it not possible for the SEDC to liaise with some business, some personalities in our localities to support. For instance, I'll give you an example. In my community this past Christmas, one big man just brought out 5 million naira in my own local community just for them to compete. Now, there are many of them. I know of a group that is called Akurula. And then they just last year, they brought out 10 billion naira for a project. Now, what I want to say here is that with your capacity at the level you are operating, can we also integrate this thing into the program of SEDC? Now, what they need to do, get some organizations or individuals that can operate at certain level and gather information and organize, and then they take it up. For instance, we are in all the 5 Southeast states and in all the 95 AGS. Now, what it means there is that we can gather some information and then you leverage it. For instance, if we call Victor, look at what we are doing. Just with his name alone, you see this thing begin to work. The money may not be a problem. What they need is that organization, that relationship where they can say we can trust these people. Yeah. Then you see them taking up. I have a lot to say, but because of time, if we can take it up from there, there are too many things. It can even integrate, even in the youths. When you talk about youth, somebody said not coming. The problem is that there are other things they are doing. We can integrate them into football with what they are doing. Absolutely. If they are doing this thing in the morning, in the afternoon, they come to soccer and compete, and all the rest of them. This thing can be put together depending on the management and administration. Absolutely. It depends on if this can be integrated together into the package of SEDC. And then they look at linkages, organizations that can operate at a certain level and help them make this thing work. Thank you.
I think that's a sound idea. Borrows from the tech industry, actually.
Thank you so much.
Oh, on this side, please. Last question on this side. Thank you so much. He's been so patient. Thank you.
Moderator, you saw I doff my cap. Before I would talk sports, you know you don't play football with a red cap. In 2010, I was appointed Commissioner for Youth and Sports in my state. I'm from Abia State. My name is Honorable Chief Henry Abweze. I want to thank Right Honorable Stanley Ohajiruka, the former speaker, and the Right Honorable Aguyua, because I took some of my Today, one of my coaches that I supported in exposing him to international training, John Obu. John Obu is one of the best coach and the administrator in Nigeria today. He is the chairman of Abia Warriors. Sir, in 2011, as Honorable Commissioner, I enunciated Southeast Sports Competition or Festival. I tagged Nnamdi Azikiwe Trophy. I involved NDDC. NDDC sponsored that competition. And Abia State called a lot of goals and a giant trophy. This was done through grassroots sports competition. Grassroots is very critical.
Thank you.
In Europe, and even in Nigeria, in every national team in Nigeria, We kept a data that the Southeast produced the highest number of footballers there. Even the current one that played in Morocco. Go and check it. So if we have this legion of players who have idle money in Europe, especially where you are, my brother, and others, you can pool these resources. You can repatriate them like the Israelis do. You can come up with a larger master plan for Southeast so that some of this money can be drawn as equity and security in counterpart with the local governments and states and senatorial zones, thereby pulling funds together, repatriating them, and establish sports infrastructure. I did it in 2011 when Ultimate Commander flew wrestling ring in Abia State. We are the first state in Nigeria that have international wrestling ring. It was not bought by communities or group businessmen. Ultimate Commander, may God bless her or fall for me. So what am I saying? Southeast Development Commission can be an aggregating point, the fulcrum in which some of these things we are talking will revolve. When you go back, arrange, open up a platform on app, get the data, all our Southeast players in Europe. See how you can raise their first $500 million or $1 billion. And scatter stadiums in all the 95 local government areas. Not just stadium for football, but every other sports. Rugby, tennis, and all that. Bring infrastructure. Young man, I love you because of your passion. You have passion, the kind of I had 16 years ago. And that passion drove me. You can see in the history of Nigeria, Enyimba has the highest record in football competition in Africa. It was not done by people without passion. I thank KGK Mipunje. May God bless him eternally. These are my directors. And we don't sleep till we bring out solution. So what we need is as solution providers.
Thank you.
Solution,
Thank
and you will enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's two more. You want to add?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Just to speak to what the other guy said and to what he said.
Yeah.
I know my commissioner wants to talk.
Yeah.
But during the Christmas, we didn't go for holidays. I and the commissioner. We were going from one village to the other, looking for talent. And do you know why we did that? Because we felt that we could get raw talent that will meet up with the via ratio requirement. And in some of the communities we went to, we found guys who met up with the via ratio requirement. And not just in Enugu. There's a guy currently, he's from Ukpo in Anambra State. He's going to Italy. So I and the commissioner, we were touring the villages just to get these guys. And again, the good thing is when you get these guys from the villages, there are no agents, they are free players. Nobody's coming to tell you, I bought him passport, I did this and I did that. So it's easier that way.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a very, very quick one. I need to make it clear as well, SEDC's job is not to create the athlete. It's not. That is your job. You can also aid in that, but it is not our job to create the athlete. We cannot control that. It's got nothing to do with us. We control the infrastructure and we provide an enabling environment. That's it. The government can't come and start saying we want to make a player, send him to England, send him. It's not our business. It is the business of local clubs, academies, private sector. We are supposed to provide free places and infrastructure for people to play. That is our job. So we should never, and I know the earlier speaker spoke, and I understand his passion, and I always hear people saying to me, oh, you go and build pitch in your village, you have money. My brother, sorry, sir. I understand I can do this. However, government have a responsibility, we have a responsibility here, sitting here, to provide the basics. So don't let us off by going to tell individuals that have gone and worked in their life to go and provide basic infrastructure that is supposed to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. So one last question from Commissioner.
Thank you.
Observation.
Of course, it's not a question, it's just a contribution. Again, from the point of view of government, you see, I would like to commend the SEDC for putting this together, for considering sports, the creative economy to be part of this developmental discussion. Because speaking from the point of view of government, the challenges government faces, or the challenges our society faces, which government has to contend with, are myriad. You know, when assuming you take office as a governor and there's insecurity, you will put that as the first line charge for your funding. Spend a lot of money on security. Then you realize that the roads are bad. Then you appropriate that as a second line charge. Then you realize there's no water in a place like Enugu. You campaigned on that. You put that on a third line charge. Then you realize that the conditions of the schools are deplorable and the education is fast, deteriorating. Then you put that as the fourth one. Then you realize the health sector is falling apart. I mean, only a healthy person can play sports. Then you put that in there. And all of this is within the limited set of resources. So this is why the simple explanation as to why sports suffers in the underdeveloped world generally. In Africa, in South Asia, whatever. Now, what that means is that where a government comes in, like you have in Enugu State, and the government is passionate about bringing development across sectors, regardless, then for something like sports, you cannot do it without the participation of the private sector. You cannot do it without conversations like this. And that's why, like I said, I commend the SEDC for putting this together. Now, recognizing that, one of the first things we did when we came on board in Enugu, and the former commissioner from Abia spoke about how he worked with the state assembly then. We did the same thing. In Enugu here, we got an executive bill prepared and the House of Assembly was happy to pass it. The Enugu State Sports Development Fund law. And inside that law, which I mostly drafted personally, you have provisions for things like incentives, fiscal incentives for the private sector, for them to invest in sports development in the state. So I think where the SEDC can come in to allow us and support us in giving life to the letters in that law would be to being a federal agency, as it were, now help us actually unlock those fiscal incentives. Enugu State can give you minimal tax breaks because most of the taxes are federal taxes. There are barely any state taxes really. So if a company is willing, but then the state is not able to give those tax breaks, rebates, deductions, then you can't really unlock the essence of those laws. So I think what SEDC can do, and then of course harmonize this across the region, is to support us to achieve that sort of thing, where in the Southeast, if you're going to invest in sports development or contribute to the fund in one way or the other, then the federal government is going to give you a tax break here. And I think we spoke about something to do with that, but we already have the legal framework for such a thing to happen here in India. I think it's something the rest of the states in the Southeast can actually replicate, and then the SEDC can coordinate its implementation. And then I was going to say one more thing about the grassroots thing. Yeah, I think the most important thing is these spaces. Just like Victor said, making those spaces available. I think government can do that. I think we need to look inward and reflect on some of our strategy and see, working with SEDC, how we can achieve those things. But already in Enugu, we are doing quite a lot. Like the GM Amobi said, we went around the states, all the localities during the Christmas break. And we've been doing this in various sports. We've had a lot of statewide sports competitions, school sports competitions. Talents have been discovered and they're being developed. And I think maybe we need to throw more light on some of the achievements that we've had, and that way it's been more encouraging even for people that want to support what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you so much.
We're gonna hold you to that as well.
Yes, please. Yes, the spaces for sports, more spaces.
And the commissioner forgot to mention that we are hosting the National Sports Festival. And yeah.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a
Is
big.
he doing or is he finished?
The cathedral will be renovated, don't worry.
Oh, there's other people haven't spoken. So sorry. And we really need to wrap up because it's almost 6 p.m. Can we have one absolutely last okay. Last, absolutely last. Oh, sorry. There's someone before you. I apologize. In behind, he's raising his hand. He's been raising his hand for a while. Augusta, do you mind
Just go
helping?
ahead. Go ahead.
Augusta, do you mind
Yeah, go
helping?
ahead.
There's somebody at the back. I'm sorry? It's, okay,
Just
so
go
we
ahead.
need to wrap
Quick
up.
question.
We
All
need
right.
to wrap up.
Okay, I'm Ken Baro. It's interesting hearing the story about Rangers. I grew up in Enugu. At least a third of my life was in Enugu. I'll come back to a question about the revenues. You mentioned the sources of revenue from what you do. I've lived in Newi now 5 years in March. I think it's important that we tell our story, and I say this as well, listening to some of the conversations from the floor. We need to tell a bit more of our story. The world needs to hear our story. But also, we need to tell our story from a particular angle, because we tell our story a lot from the show angle, not from the business angle. Yeah, I watch the audience a bit, and I watch a lot of the financial institution guys leave. Yeah, because okay, so the government guy mentioned that there are a lot of problems with investing in sports and creative industry. But the point is, in spite of the security issues, in spite of the problems, there's so many wins. And some of them are sitting here, the wins. Rangers, what I've never heard before. And that's exciting. You know, I usually, when I come back, I want to buy sports merch for the kids and all that. When we came in here, they gave us a book, a notepad and pen. Where's the Rangers one? You know, where's the Rangers socks? You know, things like that. Partner with ABBA producers and do that. You know, where is the, you know, my wife has been to like 3 World Cups, male and female. Yeah. What is it that attracts women most about it? It's the WAG's story, wives and girlfriends story. It's the showbiz, the lifestyle with it. You know, the soap opera with, you know, within it. Yeah. Why is that? We need to partner with television stations, show producers, you know, reality show producers. You know, you know the David Beckham, the what they call him, the boys again in Manchester. David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, Scholes, the Spice Boys. Yeah, you know, my wife told me more about the Spice Boys. Than, you know, so and that's what you know. I support Tottenham, so we go watch live games. We're watching a game, and she's discussing with my kids, you know, their personal lives. I said they're about to score a goal, but you see, they want to go back again, you know. And when they go back, what do? They spend money, you know. So I think a lot of that needs to happen, and it's exciting to hear that Rangers is doing that. So I think that merch. And all that lifestyle thing needs to come into it with partnership with other industries, you know. And I'll also say this to a lot of people: creative economy narrative should be pushed more. Show conversations, show story, telling our stories of the wins of our industry can get the door open, get ears here, get us excited. But when the money angle now comes in after that, that's what keeps people in the room, not just, you know, coming to the door. Yeah. So. Sorry, I'm just I wrote a lot of things. Like I said, I've lived in Newi now about 5 years. I'm building a multi-leisure dining live show entertainment center anchored by the largest cinema in Africa. It's 27 screens. And I've dealt with Newi. I mean, a lot of my brothers and sisters are billionaires out there, yeah? They are. I've come to understand how they think, yeah? None of them have invested in me, by the way, none, yeah? But a lot of them are building businesses that are looking to feed off mine, yeah? Because they can see the possibilities. But I've come to understand how they think, yeah? They don't necessarily invest, and that's using them as an example to describe the typical Igbo business person, yeah? They don't necessarily invest in business plans. They invest in Kenkena Agafia. Yeah. Is this selling? Yeah. You know, hearing the Ranger story. But what I haven't heard is how much you generate per annum. Because if you tell me being a typical investor, for instance, if you tell me that you make 10 billion naira a month, you won't leave this room. You know, everybody will want to invest and get returns on that, you know. So, you know, how they think, you know, we need to show them the money. And like I said, you know, merchandise, it's very important. I'm so excited. I know a lot of people overseas that we all grew up in Enugu, Rangers and all that. I used to be in the Boy Scout, and we used to get free tickets to what has become the cathedral, right? Like you said, you know. You know, imagine going to England or wherever, yeah, and take some of this, even if it's just pen. We got pen here, yeah, you know, and take back. It's Rangers, you know. I go to Ifeanyi Stadium today. I went there last week and it was shot. You know, it's just we're leaving so much money on the table. You know, all I'm just saying, and you can see it from my body language. I'm excited hearing you have a football team. You know, those kind of things. But I think for them, particularly SEDC, the investors, we need to tell them the money. We need to tell them how much we're making. Definitely. We need to tell them, somebody said, build swimming pools. Tell me, if you build a swimming pool, we make 1 billion naira a week. They will go for him. Yeah. So thank you. I just thought I'd make this comment.
Thank you so much. I think we really have to wrap up at this point. Otherwise, we'll be here for so long.
I know we have to wrap up, but we said here we shouldn't just be talking, but we should be practical. Please, to follow the Rangers story, if you are on Instagram, you can follow Rangers. We did the best unveiling for last season. Rangers INT on Instagram. Please follow us right now.
At Rangers INT.
We told the story, and I'm happy that one of the companies, TMG, they helped us to make a perfect story. Victor saw that and he was wild. We used the Ijele masquerade. We tell our stories, but I think the problem is amplification. Absolutely. Amplifying this. I'm happy that Stephanie is here. People with the fan base, they can help push out this. Victor is doing a lot. Our people, Ndi Igbo, Rangers bụ nke Ndi Igbo. Before Enyimba, Heartland, Rangers first. Before Ifeanyi, Rangers first. And talking about the jerseys, we have our jerseys. We have the Rangers store.
And where can you get
at
these
the cathedral?
Jerseys? Where can you get
at
them?
The cathedral?
Can you buy online? Can you buy online?
You can get online.
Can buy online.
But again, it's online. Yes. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Packaging.
So yeah. I invite you to follow, and we will talk about this.
Maybe you need to invite Stephanie to
I
the
will talk
HQ.
with you, and you will see. You will be happy with what is happening there. It's already a model. Your son wants to play football. Yeah, he can come to the Rangers Academy. So, sorry, sir.
So we really need to wrap up.
Sorry, sir. Before you leave for Newi, I invite you to the Rangers office. We are going to present to you an official customized Rangers jersey. Okay.
Look at that. Fantastic. I'm so sorry. We really need to wrap up. I'm so sorry because it's 6. It's 6. I have to be strict. I have to be strict. Honestly, I have to be strict. Huh? I have to be strict. What do we do? So on that note, I must conclude.